What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Cars and Cigars. So tonight, we have a special guest, one of our close boys, Tishon. He's gonna chop it up tonight with us on the podcast. No, my boy, introduce yourself, let people know who we're rocking with tonight.
I'm Tishon. Call me TG. Probably one of the flies with the cars.
Oh.
We're gonna make sure just have a very enjoyable podcast tonight because I got some shit to talk about.
Oh,
That's it.
My man came locked, loaded, and ready to go. Nikki, start us off with the first topic tonight. What are we talking about?
Social media and cars, where we left off on the last pod. So, what do you have to say about social media and cars?
First and foremost, Sal, how many followers you got?
Not enough, according to Instagram, but hold on, let's get a little background, yo. What'd you start with? What was your first car?
So I started off with a shell of an E36.
Okay, good choice, good choice.
So that car, sentimental value, it was a Ford E36 that my dad had when he blew up the engine back when he was younger.
M3 or no?
No,
Okay.
328. He left it for me.
Talk, don't worry about it.
Yeah, he left it for me so we can build it together as my first car.
Okay.
Manual swapped it, refreshed the engine, everything was done to that car.
You did everything like on the garage floor, like
Driveway built.
wow. Okay.
A
Interesting.
lot of summers, a lot of cold winters.
What color was the outside of the car?
It was black. I didn't get the exact paint code. We wanted to repaint it. I never got a chance to. I left for college then.
Okay. So would you repaint it the same color that it was originally?
Yes, I wanted to refresh it and give it back to my father as a gift.
Oh, nice.
That's dope. That's dope. I like that.
Yeah. Then after that, progressing, needed a car to go to college.
Okay.
I went to the first gens of the X5s. It was the practical car. It was a 4.4 liter, the V8.
The
I love
IS,
those,
right?
Yo,
I love that.
drove like butter. I'm
Those are
talking-
powerful, huh? They got power.
Yeah.
Is that the same motor as, that's not the same as a 7 Series, is it?
I don't know. What I do know about
It is.
those,
Yeah, it is. It is.
But what I do know about those X5s, they have pretty bad camber issues.
Oh,
So-
yeah,
yeah.
stock height, like tucking or whatever.
So-
There's no way to fix it.
Yeah.
I actually got a part out, so most people don't know that the rear struts, those are bags.
Really?
Yes, so they usually go out. Obviously, old technology. Got a part out, fixed that up. I got it back to driving fresh. It blew on me.
Oh my god.
Oh,
It blew on me.
just what a college student needs.
Literally.
And from there, I went to my first personal built car, a 335.
Nice.
I feel like that's
54,
everybody's like first real build.
Automatic or manual?
Manual.
Manual.
54, 55.
So fun fact, every single car I had was a manual, even the X5.
Oh, that's gangster. I love
yes.
that. I love
Manual
that.
X5.
What color was the X5?
Silver.
Okay,
That's cool.
that's hot. I like
Yeah.
that.
Pretty cool. You don't see those.
Rare. I didn't know how rare it was until somebody told me about it. But yes, first that was a manual truck I had. And then I went to the 328. Could have been in the worst shape possible. I wanted to get like the worst example of one so I can really build it up.
Start from the ground up and then you build it the
Exactly.
way they want.
So back then, to me, it was a lot of wrenching and tooling. That's when I was in my mechanic phase of life.
You're driving plenty of
YouTube mechanic.
plenty of
Yes.
stripped bolts,
Yep.
nuts.
I remember
Oh,
those
trust
days.
me, I
Hey,
was
yo.
definitely a YouTube mechanic. I learned everything off YouTube in regards to that car because there was so many DIYs. From there, I learned that car inside and out. I had a lot of help. Me and my friends bonded over that car. As many 335 owners know, I cried and got mad over that car multiple times. Running one morning,
That makes two of us. That makes two of us.
running one morning, check engine light at night.
N54.
Of course.
Yeah, 30 FF.
30 F. Oh god, don't get me started. I'm getting PTSD thinking about it, bro. It's giving me jitters.
It's the worst.
And then my now is, I love the E9X build and just body. I went to the M3 right after that.
Nice.
Best decision.
What
ever
year?
made.
So it was a 09, late 09, early 10s, 2010s example. So it was
Okay.
still LCI. pretty much EDC, everything. It was a nice example, great spec.
E92, E90.
E92, carbon fiber roof.
Nice.
6-speed.
Oh, 6-speed.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
All his cars manual.
All 6-speed.
cars.
After that, that was my baby. I went to do a track spec with that one, so I pretty much did polyurethane bushings, the subframe. I did actuators, rod bearings, everything under the sun.
The maintenance items.
Exactly. Then from performance, it was tuned. Shout out to my guy at Alpine over in Cali. Tuned my car for me. Great guy. Come on. So that was a great car for me. Still, there's
Suspension done to it, or was it stock?
no suspension done. BC Racing.
Okay. How'd you like it?
It drove like butter to me. Don't get me wrong. There's other examples.
Salted butter or unsalted butter?
Ooh, you got a little salt in there. High cholesterol.
Salt butter always tastes better.
Yeah. Wait, the X5, did that have like the trim, like the flared, almost like flared trim on, like almost like M Sport like?
Oh yeah.
That's sick. Yeah, I've seen like those done up with like 20s, not 21s, 22s or whatever, like but dropped.
Yeah.
They have like a meaty fitment. Those trucks are sick.
So let's revert back to the X5, where, cause I'm curious if you know about it. I don't know, but for the camber issue, like why does it sink down so much? Like why can't they have it fixed? Because there's people that take the camber bolt and they try to, readjust it to try to put as positive camber as they can, but it's like maxed out. Like the tire's literally like this.
Yes.
So do you know the reason as to why like they can't fix it or how to fix it? Or is there like a mod that you could do? Or
A big part of that was a lot of these guys with the airbags, they're costly to fix.
Okay.
So they cause them to sink in a lot more, especially in the rear.
Oh, okay.
And then a lot of times too, a lot of the bushings got worn out. Especially if you side New York roads, the salt,
Sure.
it beats them up. And most of those owners aren't fixing up these cars, putting new, fresh suspension.
So, okay. So then, yeah, pretty much. So basically, like on the E90 M3s, we've been doing a lot of rod bearing jobs and stuff like that. What we're noticing is, it's funny, when we do rod bearings, we include motor mounts in our jobs. So we noticed that a lot of motors sit kind of low compared to, like, let's say my car, I upkeep with the motor mounts and stuff like that. But then after we do a rod bearing job, we put new motor mounts in. I'm not even kidding. The motor sits like 2 inches higher than where it was before. And I'm like, oh, everything just fits better, So I guess it's one of those common upkeeps. And like you said, airbags are so expensive. People don't replace them. They just,
It makes sense too, because I've seen it on YouTube videos too, where like you replace the mounts are like crushed in so hard. Like you replace a mount that's rubber. You're talking about bushings.
they literally like shrink.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So you learned what? You learned from your dad wrenching on the cars, or would you say there was more like, the
Somewhat.
forums or YouTube kind of like took it to the next step, or was it the foundation with your dad and then you went on to YouTube to like, try to, finagle your way into BMWs?
So I learned from my dad in regards to older model cars.
Okay.
So his background, he's a carpenter, but he was a mechanic back in Jamaica.
Oh, okay.
And
Nice.
he actually used to drift and race back in Jamaica.
Sick.
Yeah, so he taught me how to drive my first stick shift,
Uh-huh.
everything, old Corolla with a dying transmission. I beat the living hell out of that car.
But those are so much fun.
It taught me how to drive, so I was happy and blessed to have that experience. So with him, he taught me pretty much the basics.
Okay.
Obviously, your oil changes, brake jobs.
Sure.
He actually taught me how to take out the engine, how to make sure it's leveled, that type of stuff too.
Wow.
I got help from obviously other family members who was in cars as well. But what took me to like the new age in regards to say turbos, where they weren't working on that type of stuff.
Right.
That was out there realm. That was more of I was a forum junkie.
Okay.
Facebook Marketplace. I was in the Facebook groups, forums. Listen, if I could find the information, I was going for it.
What do you think sparked your interest? Would you say that like Instagram kind of like, once you start seeing everybody else's cars, like everybody else's builds, you were like, you know what, now I kind of want to like really get into it? Or you just always had that in, your heart to be like, all right, I really want to just build a car because I know that, from my background and everything, I want to do it.
For me, it was always, I would say it's more or less a family thing.
Okay.
From JDMs to like Euros,
Yeah.
the wide range. I have cousins who's into straight Ks, Subis, and then obviously you have the Euro heads like my father. His first car back, if I'm not mistaken, he had a Nissan.
Definitely a Sentra with an SR in it.
Yes, like
It's
one of those
definitely
old school cars.
Nissan Sentra 2-door probably with an SR20 in it, which is SR20 DT I think it is or whatever.
You would know better than me.
Yeah. So those, if that's what it's, or that or a Maxima. I mean, there's so many Nissans, but I feel like the way you're describing your father, I could totally see him having like, let's see, I'm trying to think of the time. Yeah, probably like a Sentra, depending on the time, like the SR20, a turbo motor.
Yo, those motors are good,
It's the
man.
same motor that came in
My
a
first car was a 1999 Infiniti i30. Those things. that
i30
thing-
sick.
Yo, that thing literally drove like a dream.
It's so funny you said that. A customer, I swear to God, literally maybe 5 hours ago dropped off a 99 Infiniti i30 outside.
Wow.
That's funny. So we're doing like a full tune-up and maintenance on that.
Hey,
So that'll
serious?
be, I swear to God.
Wow.
It's right outside. That'll be a little nostalgia for you
That's
after
awesome.
the podcast.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I love those JDM cars. That's pretty dope.
Yeah, they're
pretty
great
cool.
cars, but
Yeah. Me growing up, I'm tall, as you guys can see.
yeah,
Okay.
I never got to enjoy JDMs because they were too small for me.
sure.
And that was probably one of my only regrets.
Wait, how tall are you?
I am 6'5".
Wow. Okay. So squeezing into an M3, was it your seat had to go all the way back, or
I was the
He sat in the back. He took the driver's seat. He sat in the back seat.
literally just lift the back seat? You'll just go gutted
Yeah.
at that point.
This little goose
That's awesome.
I was the epitome of no passengers.
Okay.
And I like coupes.
It's the best way to do it.
Oh, the worst is detailing like cars for customers who are your height, and then I gotta jump in. And if the car's manual, I literally can't reach the clutch, and I just look like I'm just like hitting the button. I'm just like waiting,
All right, any day now.
and waiting because it's all the way in the back and all the way tilted back. So I
So-
gotta come all the way up, and then I gotta go forwards.
You know, one of my pet peeves, I like my steering wheel high so my knees don't hit.
Yeah.
It's always when they move your steering wheel and
Yeah.
when you
That's the worst.
And you just jump into the car. Why is my knee?
You're like, ah.
I drive my steering wheel low too.
So it's like,
all the way low.
oh, let me raise this again. Then everything's just off. It just feels off because you have your seating position.
Yeah.
Especially when like you're driving,
Yeah.
you're really in tune with your car. The seating position is everything. And
Yeah.
with E9X is what I loved. It has such a great seating position just off the bat. for
Hands
me.
down.
Did you have factory
Hands down.
seats? You know,
I did, but the next goal was to obviously go buckets.
The factory seats are really good in the
Phenomenal.
They are.
Phenomenal.
The E90?
In the
my favorite
E90s?
seating position. The E46, I absolutely hate stock. I have to change the mounts in my black E36 because it sits too high. The E9X is perfect. Dude, stock seat,
So
stock
I'll
everything.
actually go against that, and I'll say that for maybe it's different for a regular 3 Series, and because I came from an E90 335 to an F30 340, I felt that the E90 seating position was not that good in terms of like it was probably like another like 2 inches higher than I really wanted it to be. I kind of felt like I was looking over the car. As opposed to the F30 sitting a little bit lower. I don't know if you probably see that same way with the
My
F80.
F80 does sit a little lower, but honestly, like the E92 seating position is perfect for
Is
me.
there a
Like,
difference with the coupe though in sedan? Because I feel like when I get into, I like sedans because I feel like I'm more like into the cockpit again
snug,
because of size.
yeah.
Right.
Coupes, when I get into any coupe, it's hard for me to like kind of enjoy any coupe because I feel like the door is like everything just feels bigger in proportion. Like the door is big and just
Feels heavier.
Yeah, like and then the seating position just feels like things are just the perspective just seems
I get
way
what you're
different.
saying, yeah.
You know, I mean I like them, but in terms of comfort, that's why I've always leaned towards sedans.
I will say this, and not to mention, I've jumped into E90s before. I felt better in E92s because I had, I guess, more space for the driver's side and the passenger side. E90s themselves, they don't go as far back in regards to seating position too, because obviously you have
Yeah.
the rear passenger. So
and you're a lot taller, so also in a sedan, you probably you're looking right into the pillar on the side,
Right,
right?
looking at the B pillar.
Yeah.
So I always felt better inside like a coupe.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I hate drop tops.
Drop tops.
I like drop tops.
Drop
man.
tops, anything or drop tops M3s? Or just drop top like across the board, you just like
Anything.
convertibles?
I'm sorry, function and form. I'm not here for the flashiness.
I don't know, man. I want to drop the top and smoke a cigar and go for a cruise. I like verts. I'm a big vert fan.
They have their place. for me, I'm a go fast guy. Maybe because I'm
No,
young.
of course.
And I'm speeding through life. I'm a go fast guy. Listen, maybe
Different builds for different purposes. You mentioned form versus function. Like that's a huge thing with, with car people. Like where do you want to take your build, right? Like what's the trend for builds? What's the ultimate build? What's the the thing that works for you, right? Like what do you see like a build for you that works?
Go fast builds.
Like me, yeah, you want to go fast, but like I don't think fast is everything.
But like
after you've reached a certain point of going so fast, like other components of the cars have to
Yeah, you have to start compromising.
Yeah.
Comfort, looks, this, that, the whole nine. So it's a little different. But
there's limitations.
Yeah.
yeah. No, but you're like a very OEM plus guy. So for you, it's a little different. I don't know. Me, like, I'm thankful, I'm grateful that I can have like different builds. So like I try to keep a good balance amongst everything. So like my white E36 is gonna be more of like that spirited weekend driver, My E46 is like a full blown like just show car. Like it's gonna be that true cruising piece that I can take out. It's a neck breaker. F80 is good for sliding. The Melbourne E92 we have, like I'm gonna dedicate that as like a road course car. We're building the Grigio back as another like the crazy NA setup.
Sure.
The black E36 is like that perfect balance between cruiser, but also 700-800 wheel. That'll do what I need it to do. So
it's a sleeper.
Yeah, it's nice to have that that wide array because I don't know. As I got older, I got like a real different appreciation for cars. My younger days. Don't get me wrong, I liked the older cars, but I was never like crazy about them. But now, like I would take my E36s over any other car I have in the fleet. It's just me. I'm over my F80. It is what it is. The car just doesn't do it for me. I like the G80, but for the sole purpose that it's fast. That's it.
Super quick.
Listen, unpopular opinion. I love that front end. That's just me.
I agree.
I get a lot of heat from it, but
I hated it at first, and you get gravitated by the design of how different it is. And then you say to yourself, why am I gonna? It's so crazy you say that because like that transitions into everything where like if you're used to something so much and there's a drastic change, you start to see like, now I start to. Yeah, you ingest it and you kind of feel that like, I could accept a little bit of change here and maybe it'll change the way that I look at cars.
But with like a nice grill, like the Vorsteiner grill, the CSL grill, I think it looks phenomenal. That's just my opinion. But so I'm gonna order a G80. But my personal opinion, I like the rear end more on the M4.
That's where I disagree with you too.
I love it. I think it's a lot sharper. I think it's a lot cleaner. The rear on the G80 kind of looks like a regular 3 Series, my opinion. The tails, the trunk, they did nothing to change it. But then the M4, and then again, you can say the same for the M4, but I don't know, something about just the sharp lines on the tails, it looks killer, in my opinion. But I don't know, as I got older, I have way more appreciation for the older cars. I'm on the hunt for an E30 M3. I need to get my hands on that car, bad. And I don't know why, I wasn't even around in that era, I was born, actually both of my E36s are older than me, so they're 95s, I was born in 96. But
what color would you get, not white though? Excluding white.
E30 M3?
Because I know you want white, so excluding white, what color?
I want white bad. If I had to pick after white, it's gonna be red.
Red?
It's gonna be red.
That's a sick color.
It's my boy Aki's got a red E30, and that thing is perfection, literally perfection. So I would have to go with it. If I'm not going white, I'm going.
Is that Imola or Guards red? Imola red? Guards red is Porsche.
Guards is Porsche. What color is the red on E30?
It's not the same as the Melbourne, right?
It's a great question.
I
don't know. It could be a Mola. I mean,
Hellrod? I'm not sure.
Hellrod is an E36 color.
Yes.
A Mola, I know is an E46 color. E30, not too sure, but yeah. I mean, you mentioned it before about I think ages kind of dictate. No, I think your build kind of dictates. I don't know if you would say maturity, but I guess your age. In a sense, you get to see.
I think when you're younger, you're
you
more
test more.
Yeah,
you test,
you do a lot more
push
testing.
the edge a little bit more, right?
I definitely do.
Whereas, when you get older, it's like, nah, I don't want to do that.
I definitely agree with you. When I was younger, I have no problem going on the ground and wrenching Now I stay away from certain builds that requires me to.
Okay.
Versus going towards builds where I know it's a little bit more of a safer route.
Okay.
Less
More
breaking
simplistic route,
exactly. Less breaking of parts. Not every time you gotta be in the shop. Certain things make more sense. Versus you go in the, I'm just gonna slap on mines and hope it works for the best.
Yeah.
You start planning out your builds better, actually.
Sure.
But you see, I feel like we all went through that in like our N54 days.
Yes.
Me and him,
Yeah.
I was like, yo, I don't know if this is gonna work. I'm gonna order. He's like, yo, do it. We'll try it. I was like,
Yeah.
shit, bro. I'm draining my bank account to see if this works.
And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, I'm not, so it's fine. So
Just
like,
do it.
let me just work on it. And that was it. I tested that, I think,
A lot.
with when it came to the Camry. Oh my goodness. I started with like literally the most opposite of a platform that any kid that is into cars should start with. So it's like, what do I do?
Man took a church car and built it into a race car.
Yeah, and again, I said in the previous podcast, I've said that I would, I wanted to go VIP, just put some bags on it, and some wheels, and that was it. And there was a car that was from Australia that it was so clean, and I was like, I'm so shocked the Camry could look really cool. And then I got bored that it was so slow, and it stayed slow for the most part until I supercharged it.
Well, that same engine.
Yeah.
I think if it supercharges, is the same. Is it the same engine as the
It's
one in
the-
the Lotus Elise, or is it a little different?
So my Camry was an '07 that came with a 2AZ FE. That's the same motor that's in a Scion TC.
Okay.
The same motor is like a Scion XB, all the Scion lineups. So the AZ was from 2005 to, with Camrys, it was Scion TC had 05 to 06, and then they redid it again because there were some oil squirters and stuff in the bottom of the block. And then they went to 07 to 10, which is the same motor that I had, and that was a little more revised. The only thing that was messed up with that engine, the piston rings,
Okay.
was I think the rings were faulty from the factory, and it wasn't a TSB. It was like an extended warranty scenario. So it wasn't a recall. They said you had 100,000 miles or 10 years. If you did in that time frame, you can get that redone. And so I had absolutely no issues until the week it expired. And I was like, and I didn't think, I had plans that maybe, I keep this car, build it, and down the road, whatever. There's so many parts available. I could take TC parts and I could boost it. I could slap a turbo on and go 500 wheel. The trans would probably explode, but who cares? So swap a manual in. But then that's when the motor started smoking on me, and every month I was burning a quart of oil. And I was like, I was like, how old? I was 19, 20 maybe when I sold it, or I don't remember how much older. And I was like, screw it, just get rid of it and go into another car. But the motor in the Elise, or the Lotus, is a 2ZZ, I think.
Okay.
Or 1ZZ, and that's the same motor that came in the older MR2 or the MRS.
Okay.
And then
And what year is that?
the MRS, it's 2001. It's like the Spider, so the Toyota MRS Spider. And there was this little two-door convertible.
Right.
And then you have the Lotus
Evora?
Evora that came with a 2GR. The 2GR is the V6 from Toyota and Lexus. That's the motor I should have bought. I should have bought a Camry with the 2GR, because those surprisingly, there was kids that were putting bolt-ons, which yes, there are bolt-ons that exist for a Camry. You get a Y pipe done for the exhaust, intake, you do a little tune or something. Kids were running almost 12-second quarter miles in a Camry.
Back then, yeah, back then.
I
it's
sold
pretty good.
in stock 13.9.
Okay.
And I was in a fully loaded car, and the driver is about 200 pounds. I'm like, that's pretty sick. So, again, I found enjoyment in trying to take something that is not supposed to do what you want it to do.
Right.
And
But you
then-
see, in your teenage years versus now,
So
how's your taste changed and built? Because back then it was you guys have to see this Camry. This thing was slammed, RPF ones, fender flares, gutted,
I
page.
completely gutted it entirely. My grandparents, they were around and they were watching me literally rip the interior out. And my grandfather was like, why are you doing that? And I'm like,
You won't understand.
and I'm like, I wish I could tell you. He's like, but they were comfy. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry. And then they got the bride seats, and I had my grandfather sitting in a bride bucket seat. He wasn't a fan. Not really.
But like, how'd your taste change?
My
'Cause, like,
taste,
back
honestly,
then we all
is
went
this,
overboard.
my taste is kind of the same. Although I do steer towards like an OEM plus build, but I believe in having, you know, obviously multiple builds because why not?
Yeah, of course.
Have your daily, which is OEM plus, you know, and what I mean by that is literally that OEM plus. Get, you know, don't go overboard with it, make it comfortable, and then I still like the idea of going like completely crazy, gutting the car, but doing it right, like properly building it. The only thing with the Camry is back in the day is I didn't have the funds, I didn't have the knowledge, I didn't have the tools, I didn't have a lot of the things that now it's like if I were to do it again.
It's an expensive hobby. I feel like, you know, if you're not willing to
I want to do it again.
to budget yourself and
Yep.
you know, see what you're gonna spend, don't go crazy trying to, you know, to flex on the next person
You know-
when
you
you
know-
have nothing left, you know?
One thing he said that kind of just stuck out to me, having a daily driver.
It's so important.
How hard is it to have like a regular
It is
stock
so
daily driver?
important.
Being a car guy,
It's so tough.
your daily driver, especially when you're younger, you want your race car to be your daily driver.
Yeah, you want to go to school in like
Exactly.
in like with a car with like a 6-puck like clutch. You know, you could barely like, you know, get it started and whatever. Switch panels. I literally knew kids that did that.
But you felt like the man when you just.
Oh yeah.
You're halfway about to
Yeah.
about to blow up engine. Not fully built. Still
Yep.
needs maintenance done.
Got a water bottle as your coolant reservoir.
Yeah, but the car is an expression of you.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Right?
it is.
Like that's what I see a car as. Like a car to me, for me, is an expression of myself. You know?
But
like,
people don't get that. If you're not a car person, you will not understand
They don't
a
get it
word
at
that
all.
you said.
and I think a lot of people who look from the outside, not as a car person, they think, wow, that guy is really insecure. Or wow, that guy has a little peen.
Compensate.
A
Compensates
little,
like.
a little cannoli.
It's like, oh, why is your
Little
car?
cannoli.
Why is your car
Literally.
gonna be so loud? Why is your truck gotta be so this? Why is it? Because why not? Like, why
Like,
can't I just like
literally.
enjoy and modify my car or
Mind
truck?
your business.
Spend my money. However, if it's irresponsible, I'm sorry.
Everybody has their vices.
It's my problem, and
Yeah.
honestly, it's not irresponsible. If people budget their lives correctly, what's wrong with having a little bit of a hobby? That, like, there
I
are other
agree.
worse hobbies out there.
And I think this is something that you could see through now as a podcast and having a shop, having people together. This is something that brings really good people together, right?
Oh yeah,
And
100%.
you know, it's not like where people are, you know, doing, you know, bad things.
So, I mean, we'll get to that a little later
Yeah.
in the podcast because we're kind of going to tie in how cars got us where we are, you know? But, like,
It's a personality.
so let's hear from you guys. Like, how'd your guys' taste change over the years since you guys first started building cars to now?
I don't want to sound ignorant, but I think my build has always been the same ever since I started. I never had the personality to be over the top.
No, you were always clean
I was
since I met you.
always, my builds were always to
OEM
just
plus.
be OEM plus. Before people were even thinking about OEM plus to be mainstream. I don't want to toot my own horn, but anyone who knows, you know, my E90 was so spotless.
Yeah.
The thing was, but
I
also,
detailed that car, and before I detailed it, before I touched it, I said, "That's the type of customer that I want." Like this car, I polished it, and ceramic coated it, and he kept up. I don't know why. Honestly, it came out the way you were maintaining it. It came out great.
Yeah.
You know, the car looked fire. It was.
But
so
it took it to
clean.
the next step. Like,
the little enhancement here. and
yeah,
there. Sure.
that's when you become obsessed.
Yes,
That's where I
right.
think kind of sometimes like where I actually think it's bad. Like
Right.
to me, like I got to a point where I was obsessed with it. If I saw a little scratch or I saw something else, like
freak out.
frustrating.
yeah, and that's not healthy though. You know what I mean? Like
So
there
hold
has
on.
to be-
This is coming from the man that had 2 bumpers. He had 2 M Sport bumpers, one for the winter and one for the summer.
Yep.
You can't make this up. I swear to
swear.
God.
Yep.
I swear to God.
Yep.
I would be like, I know, like right around Thanksgiving. Yo, Nikki, what are you doing? Let's go grab a coffee. Nah, bro, hold on. I'm putting on my winter bumper.
I'm like you.
Who says that, bro?
That's like
Nicky Fingers.
What got you there though, in regards to cars? What
what got me there? So let's rewind. When I would go on vacation with, you know, my family, we would go into the airport, and the first thing that I was gravitated toward was the car and driver magazines, the DuPont registry, you know, those, and you're swiping through the magazines, and you're looking at the Lamborghini Murcielagos,
Yep.
the Gallardos, the 360s, the
Diablos.
Testarossa, the Diablo, the Countach, the
Different era of cars,
Oh man. But like, knowing what you know now, you wish you would have got one. You could have made some good money, but to add on top of like who like how I got to like the builds that I have. I'm just a very meticulous person. It like leads to like what I do for a living, like being an accountant, having everything in its like its own spot in its own way. But you know, like I'm always open to like seeing how other people interpret their builds, right? Like and why that leads them to how they built their car,
And like
right?
you said, your car was an extension of you and your
Sure,
personality.
yeah, I think so.
Being meticulous, obviously.
Yeah, but
listen to builds.
also too, I think it's good that you see something else because you get stuck in your own way.
Of course.
You know what I mean? Like, and what I was doing sometime probably wasn't really like normal. You know what I mean? Like, who's the guy who has two freaking bumpers to change? Only me. You know what I mean? Like, so, but yeah.
Yo, you really hit a soft spot with me, man, when you said
Yeah.
car magazines. Like,
Oh, I miss.
man, those were the days. You
I
couldn't
miss
wait.
those days,
I'm going
man.
to show my age. I did not grow up on car magazines.
But that's the thing, right? Like,
So we're not too far apart in age, and you're like, you just made the cut that kind of like didn't have that era.
You needed
you
the
know?
do you have an older brother or any older siblings?
Yes.
So the older sibling, like, so I'm 27. My brother is 11 years older than me. So he's, was it 38? So him and then my sister is 6 years old. So like, growing up, having them, I like fell into like the, and plus my grandparents, like,
The old school
I
way.
lived in my grandparents' house.
Of
So like,
course.
it was as old school like as it gets. I didn't get a chance to do anything new school. So anything new school, I barely understand.
Like you said, I was on the cusp because I had older cousins, older siblings. They exposed me to it.
Yep.
But I was in the technology age. So everything was online.
Yep.
Get it on your phone, your computer.
Yep.
Listen, this is back, if I'm not mistaken, 2010 when the E92s came out. I'm on BMW's website looking at them. I'm
Yep.
looking at the new trailers.
And you could like build, remember the old school website building?
Yes.
Like I remember building a Honda S2000 or like building talking back like 05, 06, like the old websites where you could like customize the car.
Love that.
And I would just like or Hummer.com. I used to like modify Hummers like and build them up completely.
But that's what I grew up on. I could go online and,
Yep.
what spec is this? Silverstone? Interlagos? Oh my God.
Yo, remember back in the day, it used to have the little squares. You used to have to click the
Yo,
click.
yeah.
Yo,
It's so, like,
they had
so
different
nice.
square wheels you
Yep.
pick. You had the trim that you pick.
Click, click, click.
yeah, and then when you get to the final, build price, you're like, shit.
Gotta go back to work. Gotta go back to work.
Worse
Gotta
is,
find
like,
a job.
you build it and they're like, please email for price. I'm like, damn it!
Yeah,
I wanted to see what it was worth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, find your local
Like,
dealership.
I
they'll
don't want
help
to
you
talk
out.
to them. I'm 12. I can't do that.
Exactly.
Good luck. I'm gonna go to the dealership.
Mom, can you send an email for me?
Yeah,
Jeez.
seriously.
Nah, that was the golden age of cars, man. I know.
I had all the magazines.
Right, I was in high school, man, and that's like
Motor Trend,
Yeah.
that's just when.
Road and Track.
Yeah,
Yes.
those are the best. The best was you pull out the little slip. I'd run to my parents and be like, "Guys, can I
He's
subscribe
like,
to the
Literally,
magazine?"
oh my gosh.
It's
dude.
like $120 for the year. I'm
Yeah.
like, "Yo, I'll do whatever. Just give me the
Damn.
magazines."
Damn.
Yo, all right, listen. So I don't know. I'm sure a lot of car guys have this. In the bathroom, you got the stack of magazines. You go to the office, you read your article, do your thing.
That's it.
That was the best, man. I used to have stacks in my room.
had
I used to just sit
all
there and
of
read.
them. I had JDM builds. I had Euro builds. I had American stuff. I had trucks.
Yeah.
DuPont Registry was my favorite. Obviously,
Uh-huh.
when you said that, I was like, the airport thing. Oh my goodness! Like the best.
Because
my mom would
technology
say,
wasn't there to give you what
It wasn't
you wanted
good,
to see.
right. It wasn't as on demand. It wasn't
Right.
right
It
in
wasn't
your
on
face.
Wasn't that instant gratification? You had to wait for that magazine.
I had
Now-
my Motorola
yeah.
Razr. I had the old phone and stuff.
But now, as I'm getting older, I start to see that you want to control the gratification, right? Like if you're always looking at your phone and you're scrolling through, you don't really get an appreciation for
Become
what
numb.
you're looking at. Like looking at a piece of paper, you put in your mind like, oh, someone had to go through himself, like him or herself, going through an article, putting it through an editor, going through another person to review it.
Yep.
Like there's some steps in order for them to publish like a piece of paper. Maybe it's not as valuable as it was like back in the day, but I actually like have more of an appreciation for it. Like I was at my uncle's house a couple days ago for my cousin's birthday, and Haggerty. Do you know what Haggerty
Yep.
is? Yeah. and they have their own, magazine. And it's like you see like these older guys, putting together the builds, and like as we were going before about builds and ages, like as you get older, you start to see different types of builds for that age group.
Yeah.
Like the older like 1970s cars, the Mustangs, the Camaros, the Bel Airs, things like that. And that eventually I think will be us when, with the BMWs. I think the Euros kind of took place what the old American cars were.
Yeah.
Like you go over here in Long Island, where we're shooting at, in Captree, you go there at like 6 o'clock in the morning, you see all the old guys just posted up, smoking a cigar,
like
kicking back, talking. But they're out at like 9 o'clock.
Yep.
Yeah.
And all the young guys are showing up at like 9, 10 o'clock, and it's like, where is everybody?
Starbucks or whatever.
Everybody just left.
Gotta wait for that first crowd to get out of this.
That's the worst. Cars and Coffee, man, they gotta fix that time slot. People are there at legit 5:30, 6 o'clock.
Yeah, but at 5:36, all you see is jean shorts, New Balances, and Chevy jackets. That's it, bro. That's all you see at Cars and Coffee.
Literally.
Nah.
One time I went to a car show and I was walking around. I was with my uncle. And we're walking around. It was more like old school classics, whatever. And this guy's like, I passed some Corvette owners, and I was like, Uncle Vito, look, it's your type of crowd. And he's like, nah, they don't know how to detail their cars. And I'm like, what? And this guy, my uncle goes up to me. He's like, hey, my nephew is a detailer. The guy, he's like, nah, I clean my own cars. And he pulls out a bath towel, like an actual. And he just got there. Like he just got to the car show. It's like a 90-degree day, right? And you can see like
the blazing
pollen
sun.
or like whatever's on it, like pollen or something. And he just starts going to town on it. And I'm just like, yeah. I'm too busy anyway. And I just kept going.
The worst is a California Duster.
Oh yeah. Don't.
The red one with the white stick.
No, Dustin.
Dude,
Don't do that.
bro. That was. Oh my God! Don't get me started on that. Yo, everybody's like, yo, hold on. They pull out the leather patch. They open it.
literally.
They dust it in. I'm
Do you
sitting
know what
there.
those are or no? Oh man.
Yo, you a baby, bro. You a big ass baby.
Shit.
Yo, my man said cap. Dude, what's that wax? They used to,
Caranuba, like.
Carnuba waxes.
no, Menzerna and all that.
Yeah.
Yo, the old heads used to be like, oh, this is the best. It's
Well, McGuire's, I mean,
No,
was really
new finish.
New finish.
Oh, okay. My detail is out there. New finish. That was the stuff for old. Oh my
Or
God.
turtle wax.
Turtle wax.
Yo, let me tell you something.
detailing
Turtle
myself.
wax, for a
Got
their brand recognition changed completely I would say in a span of probably 4 years. I don't know how much you know about like Turtle Wax as a brand, but they started off with a sealant called Steel and Shine. Insane. Like the durability on it is incredible. Like I wouldn't say it's like close to ceramic coating, but in terms of durability, you get almost like a year of durability on a sealant. It's insane.
Did they have new ownership? But I know that
they're actually family
line,
owned.
That whole product line got completely revamped.
Yeah.
Like, and it's good. Like,
It's
I have
real
Turtle
good.
Wax in the thing now. Like,
And when I first started with cars,
well.
I never went to Turtle Wax. I always went to McGuire's.
Yep.
McGuire's was the big one. I'm still a McGuire's guy when it comes to car washes. Gold wash.
Gold Class?
Still,
Yeah,
Gold Class
Gold Class is
still go
classic.
to.
Can't go wrong with
It's.
But I think it's safe to say though, as we all got older, it became a little more simplistic. You know, like
Oh yeah.
You find too.
We don't have time.
so like right now,
It's time.
back then my dad had an E46. We were kind of building that. That was, our little like first project that me and him did together. And it was like, we did the wheels, suspension, we were changing bumpers, doing this, that. Like we put for my E46 guys, we put like the rear windshield spoiler. Who does that? Like who in their right mind does that? But now I'm taking a different approach. Me and him are building another E46 together, this time around M3. And like we're going so period correct. It's insane. Like it's an Interlagos car. We're doing full cinnamon interior, OEM competition trim. Like we're lowering it just a smidge, doing AC Schnitzer type 2s. Like we're keeping it so period correct. OEM bumpers, the whole nine. Like we're in any carbon that's going to be on the car. Like we're doing it. I'm trying to source an OEM CSL rear diffuser. So like trying to find that. Trying to find like factory splitters or do like a very very simple lip. Keeping it so like it's got to be period correct. You know, and another thing that kind of ties into the conversation we're having with like age and builds, I'm not gonna tint it.
Yep.
I'm a big tint guy.
Right.
There's not a single car that I own. I should say a few years ago that hasn't been tinted. I'm always
fishbowl.
like my F80. I have limo all around, tinted windshield.
Yep.
Don't care. I need a pitch black, but like my E36s, fishbowl. The E46, fishbowl. Like that
You want
era.
to see the inside,
Like it's a flex. You look through the window, you're like, wow. And my interior on the car is brand new leather. The entire interior.
Yeah, I mean, I think a fishbowl is right for it because you want people to see inside.
But that's what I mean. It's like very like era specific. Like
Sure.
I want to keep the early 2000s, the late 90s.
Bro,
the late
think about
80s
the
alive.
old. Think about the old tints they used to throw on those cars back in the '90s. Those things would turn purple.
Well, the
You know what I'm
the
talking about?
frosted tint.
They fade, they streak.
Yeah, literally.
Or the mirror tint.
I remember the days I used to pick up tint film from like AutoZone.
Try to
That's
do
a
yourself.
weekend. That's a weekend project with your boys.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like I remember those days. And you got the little $70, $80 tints. You thought that was an expensive tint.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Now you $1,000 full car ceramic tints. You're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
God damn,
Yeah.
things have changed.
Yep.
But once you get exposed to it, you never want to revert back.
You never want to go back
Yeah.
and you see the value in it,
Exactly.
right?
Ceramic makes all the difference, dude.
I don't have
Ceramic's
ceramics, but
When
I
I was-
hear it's good.
When I was in high school, I'd show it. Here's tint. Here's
huge. Just put it on, cover the windows. Who cares?
Exactly. It's just for the looks. But as you got older, you like, oh, this is quality. And you would never go back from quality.
You start to appreciate like the clarity, actually being able to see with proper tinted cars. Like my car's limo, I see out of my car perfect. It's full car ceramic, and like, dude, it's crystal clear, bro. But like on the Melbourne E92, I have just regular like carbon tint, and I'm like, it's a little harder, and it's the same percentage. You know, but then it's like ceramic on the F80 on the windshield.
Right.
I see right through it, like there's nothing there. But you look outside, it's pitch black. You can't tell,
Sure.
which is nice. You know, so I like that. I don't know, just the way technology came now with having the new tech and knowing what I know now to build older cars changes everything.
Yeah,
think-
that's
yeah.
big. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah,
especially 'cause
technology.
You talk period correctness. I think that's something that actually is becoming like you'd hear about like older classic car guys. Like when I go with my uncle again, I go to these car shows, especially like the NCRS Corvette shows. You know, everything's down to the last bolt.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, like the wing nut on the
Corvettes
car.
at Carlisle.
Yeah, the wing
Huge on
nut
that.
on the carb is $150 for a wing nut. You know, so like that's how serious. But when we talk, you know, modifying cars, going period correct, that's so much more fun. Especially now we're at the age. I mean, like I said, I'm 27 now. So like, when I was maybe 7 or 8, like I'm thinking of cars that were just released. You know, like and how old was I? I don't know. I'm trying to think like, you know, back in like 06 or 07, like what cars were released and. You know, you have this car like
C6006.
Yeah, C6006. Like I remember when cars were coming out, and then Top Gear, watching like the Top Gear videos. I'm a big Top Gear fan, so like I would see the old those cars coming out. But as the years are going on, and now like we're established, you know, we're establishing ourselves, we're living our lives, we're becoming like adults, and we're coming back to our poster cars to like work on.
It's
like,
such a crazy
it is
evolution on
sick.
just like social media and cars. Like
Yeah.
to revert back to like our first point that we talked about on the pod, like Top Gear, like videos that just pop in my mind
so-
is the E46
Yup.
CSL, the
Murcielago.
E60 M5. They had to make 2 parts of that
Bro,
series.
forget all that. The E92 M3, the C63, and the
And the
RS4.
It was awesome.
I can
Bro, I
literally,
can remember the colors. That's what's
Yeah.
even
bro,
more
I
nuts.
can tell you word for word that entire damn video. The amount of times I watched it because, so I'm from Montenegro. Our community is either you're an M guy or you're an AMG guy.
Yeah.
And we don't get along. Yo, don't even get me started, bro. The AMG guys suck. M is the way to go. That's it. That's the only way. The amount of debates that we used to have and just sit, I'm not even kidding, dude. We would all like gang up at someone's house, chill, hang out with the guys.
Yeah, but what was I a fan of?
Toyotas.
Besides
Always.
Toyota. No, if we're talking Euro. Yeah, I'm a fan of Toyota's over.
You were always an Audi
I
guy.
was always Mercedes. I was
Oh,
always
you're right.
because
You
my
were always
mom-
Mercedes.
I will say, I think Mercedes does the best quality of a total build.
Mercedes does better luxury. I think overall build
overall
quality.
build-
I disagree with you. I'm sorry.
Really? Okay. I want to hear why.
Any period of time, BMW, especially M's,
Okay.
have made a total better car.
Okay.
Stack a C63 W204 versus an E92. What drives better?
So,
What's a better car?
I am so happy you said this because now I'm gonna get heated.
What was it? C63?
The W204,
Yeah.
the NAC63.
Yeah.
They're faster,
Like
yes.
an 08, 09 or something?
Put them through a corner at 80, 90 miles per hour. Put a E92 through a corner at 80, 90 miles per hour. The driving connection, the punching your nose just through a corner, the directness of an M versus a C63.
I don't know, man.
But
I
that's
actually
cool.
got to disagree.
But
I
isn't it
drove in
common-
his
So hold on.
cousin's car.
I'm gonna flip flop both of you guys. Sorry, go ahead. I don't want to
Yeah,
cut you off.
so I was in the passenger of Sal's cousin's C63 Camel. He had a silver C63, and it was the first time I actually went to the Poconos for race motive. And he went into a corner. I'm like, oh my god, dude, this thing is actually like pretty agile.
Yes, so I'm gonna add on to that. Keep going.
And I think maybe it's a reflection. But we're like I was talking more like Benz and BMW on like a surface level. You know what I mean? Like I think that BMW does the best in terms of a driver's car.
Yes.
But I think that Mercedes builds the better overall pack. Like in terms of like build quality, Benz I think is better. Infotainment, BMW. iDrive is so much more simpler than Benz. Like my parents have Benz, and I don't really like it that much. But the interior, the leather, I actually like Mercedes more. Like for example, right? Like if you take, let's say, from all different classes, the C class versus a 3 Series, I'm taking a 3 Series. A 5 Series versus an E class, I'm taking an E class.
Yep, me too.
And if I'm going to talk 7 Series versus S class, no question, S class.
Yes.
I give you that.
Beyond belief.
Yes.
Yep.
You
Yes.
know? So in that case, that's why BMW is known for its 3 Series as the ultimate driving machine. That's why I give it, to BMW on that.
But I feel like over the years now, especially with obviously the demand for luxury plus a performance level, I think Benz, BMW, and Audi have gotten to an even level in regards to the
Okay.
All of them. Yeah.
G80s. The quality of leather, just
It's beautiful.
The-
I give it to BMW on
The
that.
interior is a magnificent car. Don't get me wrong. But then you look inside a RS4, you can't go wrong with that. I wouldn't even be mad.
Audi's beautiful.
But then you see the new 63s. Same thing. I was like, honestly, I can't be mad at either choice if you're talking about a quality of car. They all have their specific niche in the car community. However, me as an M guy, I'm sorry. I feel
hear
like
you.
M's are just.
That's fair.
So like going back to what you said, so now I'm gonna drop my point. Going back to what you said, Benz has the better build quality, period. In my opinion, I think they have stronger motors. They're built better overall. I give Benz that, for sure. Now, going back to what you were saying, like Camel C63, me and him went to NYST. I had my E92, upgraded suspension. He was literally stock C63 suspension. Don't forget, C63's got better brakes. I think the M3 has better suspension. Me and him were playing cat and mouse. Bro, I was on him, like I can't explain to you. If he sneezed on the brake, I was rear-ending him, we were dead. Like there was no, dude, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a little gust of wind if I rear-ended him. No, seriously.
Really that close. Okay.
But he was on stock suspension. Dude, we were driving like our lives depended on it. I went off that day. I literally, I went off. I was chasing, so I wasn't chasing him. One round, I went off because I was chasing an S2000. Mind you, behind the scenes, we were talking about it. If me and this dude sat in an S2000 together, bro, we'd probably be overlapping outside of the car. But, yeah, so I was chasing an S2000. I actually went off, just barely, and it shot up a little rock, and I was able to save it.
Okay.
But I was pushing it to the limits, fading the brake. I was on stock brakes. All I had was just fluid, no upgraded patent, nothing. But I had coils, but I didn't get into it, because that was the first day out with that specific
Sure.
car.
It takes a lot to really get a good
Yeah,
track
so
record.
I wanted a good baseline. So I set my times, I got my data, and I was able to continue that way. But what's a better driver's car? I'm going M all day. It's no question. But E92, C63, me and my boy Brady had this conversation the other day. If you took the torque that the C63 has and put it in the M3 with the way the E92 is set up, nobody would ever bat an eye at the C63, ever.
I agree.
But this is where the C63 lacks. The trans is garbage. So now imagine if you took a DCT and put it in a C63.
Right.
I don't think anybody would ever look at the E92.
Right,
That's
and where the C63 also kind of fades away unless you get a 507 is the LSD.
Yes.
So that's an option.
And LSD is huge when it comes to driving, you know?
Here's the thing, especially for that generation that year, head bolt gaskets. The head bolts.
The head bolts. Yeah.
That was their biggest downfall in regards to it. But the earlier gens had LSD, the later gens didn't, but they fixed the head bolts. And that was,
So it was an option. So common misconception, people think if you got by like a P30 or a P31, that it comes with an LSD automatically. It's not. It's an option. You have to put it in.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's kind of where the M3...
What's P30 and 31?
it's like
the performance package, force internal, stuff like that. But all the M3s came LSD. I'm gonna go with the M3 every time. But now, like I said, take the Benz torque, put it in the M3, no one's ever looking at the Benz. But then take the DCT, put in the AMG, no one's ever looking at the M3. So that's kind of where they were able to differentiate where people kind of picked what they wanted. If you wanted to go fast in that stock form car, you're taking the C. You wanted to really enjoy your driving experience, you're taking the M3. That's simply what it comes down to.
So that generation was an interesting generation in regards to all three big Euro guys, Audi, AMG.
But like the RS4 was like the redheaded stepchild. we just throw that one to the corner.
So that was the battle of the V8s that year, right? How do you guys feel about force induction with the superchargers that came out on aftermarkets?
The aftermarket
In terms of what? What are you trying to get at? Like boosting a C63 W204 and then an M3?
or tuning capabilities of each platform?
What was the best bang for your buck? What was the better performance? Obviously, the supercharger for the M's, it definitely gave it a new experience. It kept making it alive.
Of course, yeah. I mean, listen, it made up for where it lacked the power. I'm going to be honest, a proper boosted W204 still going to be faster, but all depends on how far you want to push the limits with the E92. I'm a diehard S65 guy. Everybody knows that. I do want to build another boosted one for sure. But it's just that motor cannot take what the M156 can. It's just the honest to God truth, and that's coming from like I'm not trying to give like a biased opinion. I have to call it how it is. Yeah. The Benz is the better motor, no question. But would I rather take the S65? No brainer. No brainer.
You could also make the argument like for what better motor is it for, right? Like you could say that an E92's motor is better for a track car.
Yeah, high revving.
Right? High revving, like it's using like, high weight oil. It's a race motor, like if you take what the E60, like the E60 M5 motor was built by Williams. Williams, the F1 team.
Yep.
So that is like a Formula One engine.
That's an F1 sedan, period.
Literally.
Period.
And if that car if it was reliable, that's probably one of my favorite BMWs by far. An E60 M5 with a 6-speed manual, Alpine white.
Yep.
Forget it.
That's like the epitome of
You don't even
era.
You don't even have to do headers. You literally just throw an Eisenman rear box. That's it.
So unbiased opinion. I think headers absolutely 100% kill the sound on the V10.
Kill it.
I think it sounds like utter crap. My
Garbage.
opinion.
Unless maybe it has to be equal length, but I don't know.
Nah, everybody does long tubes on those cars. Okay. But like if you put a header Eisenman car and then you put a bone stock car with an Eisenman muffler, I'm taking a bone stock car with the Eisenman. It sounds better.
Or even a Meister shaft.
Yeah, that too. That too. Like as I got older, so I really wasn't a fan of the V10 because I didn't understand it much. Growing up as a kid, I was like, I just wanted some turbos. I just wanted to go fast. That's all I gave a shit about when I was younger. But as I got older, I'm like, I started understanding all these motors. As I did more research, I was like, and listen, we all got to that point where we started off with what we could afford.
Sure.
We all got into our professions and stuff like that. And listen, our horizons broadened a little bit. Thankfully and gratefully, we got the opportunity to experience with more cars. I really started to appreciate what these cars had to offer, like an S65. I would rather take a bone stock S65 over a 1,000-wheel N54 any day of the week. It's the simplicity. You can truly appreciate what the car is built for and what it's gonna do, I don't know. It's just me. I guess the older
I
I'm
don't know,
getting.
man. I'll take 1,000 horsepower and 54. That'd be pretty
Yeah,
cool.
if you wanted to break every other week, you can't do 3 pulls without blowing the charge pipe.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't run it at 1,000. I'd probably do like 700, maybe. But
That's
no,
what
but
we
I
do.
hear what you're saying.
But it's not the
I got
same.
you.
Like, I want to appreciate a car for what it is.
Sure.
Because like we said before, like, we're getting older. I don't have time to sit there and I got to build a motor every 2 years because it pops, or
It's so annoying.
the car breaks every other track
And
event.
you're a shop too. Like, you don't want to be like.
You can't tie up a lift
You know,
because you don't make
Todd's
money.
always- Yeah,
Like-
literally.
I mean, it's just me. Having to fix the car every single moment, you start to fall out of love with the build.
Yep.
Yeah, it starts to ruin it for me.
Sure.
Like, I don't want to deal with that. I want to be able
Exactly.
to get in, turn it. That's why I love the S65. I can get in every single time, gas it up, go wherever I got to go. I know it's not going to leave me stranded. But now, like, not that it's not reliable. My E36 is phenomenal, but it's like, it's more of a race car. It's making 750 wheel. Like, all right, I got to sit and I got to monitor this. I got to make sure this is good. I got to follow it. Like, it's just a whole procedure, That's why the older I'm getting, the more I'm liking the simplicity behind the car. Just want to get in, drive, enjoy it. Makes enough power for me to have fun. Yo, I don't care. You want to be the fastest, claim you're the fastest. Everybody knows who the king is. Yo, do what you got to do. But, listen.
Oh no.
For everybody wondering, yes, we're going back again, and we're going to keep pushing our current record further and further and further to the point where it's not going to be obtainable anymore. So it's what we do. Forget every platform. The S65 has my heart for life. That was my poster car growing up. I still have the original poster when they first dropped, the Alpine White with the 19-inch 220 wheels. Like,
Yep.
You're such a fanboy, bro.
yo,
Such a fanboy.
I fangirl over that car like you have no idea, man.
Yeah.
No idea. Yeah, it's like your first crush. You know what I mean? Like growing up, that was my first crush. Like that car was everything to me. And it's funny. So I was younger. We went to the car show. My cousins, my dad, my uncles. Like we all went. As a family. That's right when the 1M came out in 2011.
Yo,
What a nice car.
talk about a car, man.
My dad is like, yo, let's get one. Like, this thing is so cool. It looks like a little go-kart.
The Valencia
I'm like,
orange.
It was an orange. That was the release color they had it on the car
And
show.
they're going, and the video is actually going through like walls. You
Yep.
ever seen the video
Yep,
of that? Yeah.
And he's like, yo, let's get one. I'm like, Dad, who the hell wants a 1 Series, bro? It's like a little girl's car. Like, I wouldn't want that. I'm like, I want an E92 M3. Like, that's what I want to save my money to buy. He's like, yo, let's go buy one. Like, let's do it. The dumbass
way
I am.
down.
I should have been like, yeah, Dad, buy it. We'd be set right now. But those cars held value like crazy. But who
The
knew?
$110,000 car. I don't know what the market is now for them, but
Higher mile cars are still going for 60, 65,000,
Yeah,
which is
it's
insane, But listen, had I knew then what I know
still
now,
has an M54, but whatever.
yes. But I wanted that M3. That was
Yeah.
it. So for me growing up, that was it for me.
The looks of that car is like what sets it apart, I think. The wide fenders,
Timeless.
timeless.
Yeah.
I think that time, it's debatable. What a lot of people who are like BMW enthusiasts, like what generation is the most timeless? And I think as the BMWs are kind of evolving like really, really hard. Like look at the G series.
Completely out of its form.
Yeah, I think honestly the new crown is definitely the E9X, E92.
That's currently
I feel
the
like
last
I feel like it kind of
bare
encapsulates
bone
the modern BMW with the old style, right?
So, speaking from somebody who's in the cusp of like the 2 generations, the E9X is at a price point where that's a lot of people's first starter amps.
Right.
So they can
Pre-COVID. Now they're pricey.
Oh,
Even
don't get me wrong. But for this age group where you just get to your profession and you got a little cash to spend, and you can afford one, this is a lot of pre-amps. Like, this is their first starter amps.
Sure.
E30s are going skyrocketing.
E30, if you're not a collector with some serious coin, it's hard to get your hands on it unless you've
Yeah.
had that car for 10 years.
Exactly.
Yep.
I'm looking every day. Listen, it's not that I can't get one, I just can't justify
Spending the money.
the $100+ grand on an E30. Don't get me wrong, I love the car, it really is God's chariot. But at the end of the day, it's junk. Can we be realistic? Suspension's outdated, the brakes are terrible, the motor's garbage. Like, I would have to buy that car and do an entire build on it, But it's like,
That's a lot.
6-figure car, that's 35 years old.
Dude, you're in you're in like a Porsche territory.
Exactly.
Thank you.
You know what I
Thank
mean?
you.
Like, you're not spending $100,000. Like, a BMW should not be in the $100,000 range. Obviously, now with the M3s, like the G80s, they're pretty freaking crazy cars. Like, in terms of like what it could offer you and like
They're
the type of
Exactly.
performance. It's kind of justifying like what you're buying. You know what I
You're
mean?
getting way more for your money.
You're getting
bro.
a lot.
We're talking about carbon ceramics. We're talking about the best tech in the game right now. You know,
Yes,
same
indeed,
suspension.
engine.
All-wheel
It's
drive
phenomenal.
and rear-wheel drive.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's a
man.
daily
You
driver.
flick a switch. It's like a
It
video
does
game,
everything.
you know, like
It does everything.
Exactly.
But that's part of the problem too. You lose the driving. You lose the driver feel and the visceral experience of a sound that you don't have anymore because of emissions, because of the car companies constantly evolving. You know, like people make fun of the E46 because it sounds like a tin can. You throw headers on it, you put a really nasty exhaust, they sound really good.
And listen,
You know?
I'm not a fan, like you said, the E46, I'm not a fan of the rasp and like the tinny sound, but you know what? I've learned, and again, this comes with age, like we've been talking about the whole
You
podcast.
accept it because it's.
I've learned to
character.
appreciate it because that's the
fine line.
characteristic of the car. Where are you getting a 6-speed, revving out to a little over 8,000 RPMs?
Yep.
Like, you said timeless E9X for you. Like I said, E9X, fanboy, poster car, like that's it for me. But I can truly, truly appreciate an E46 now.
Yep.
I didn't really understand what a proper E46 M3 was until I bought one.
Uh-huh.
And then I bought it and I'm like, holy shit, I get it. Like, I understand it. And it was bone stock. I bought this car last March. We're in November now. I've put, I'm not even exaggerating, 30 miles on the car since I bought it. And those 30 miles, the first thing I did, I literally drove it home from the transporter. He was with me that night. From the transporter in the rain. Second gear,
Pouring.
clutch kick.
Every time you get a car, it's pouring. What is that?
Well, and I guess our people say when it rains on certain events, it's good luck. Like it's a blessing for whatever's going on that day.
Blessing to our wallets.
Yeah. Not like I got a really clean gem for a really good price.
It's a beautiful car.
So it's it's a beautiful thing. But first thing I did was like, all right, I like to mess around, slide a little bit.
Yep.
I've never drifted an E46. I'm not by no means a drifter. I'm a little, whatever. Clutch kick second. I'm like, whoa. I was like, all right, that was different. Felt very different from the E9X. And it wasn't a DCT. I'm used to sliding DCTs all the time. Did it again. I was like, yo, I really like this. Next morning, literally got out, took it to some twisties locally. And I'm like, not even speeding, reckless drive, nothing. I'm like, I just want to truly feel the car, The
steering.
Threw it in sport. And I'm like, all right, let me just go for a little cruise. Just started ripping it around a little bit. I'm like, wow. Brought it home, dug into the car that same day.
Yep.
Now we're doing entire suspension refresh, coilovers. I literally have them sitting on the shelf. I cannot wait to truly get that car 100% because I'm kind of doing like a showroom build. That car is going to come out like it rolled off the showroom floor. Every single bushing is going to be replaced, control arms, everything. Entire suspension refresh. I need it to drive like a car with 0 miles on it. And that's
Those
exactly
feel raw when they're dialed in.
Exactly. I
Raw,
want to put
dude.
in a proper suspension setup,
Yeah.
all the chassis reinforcement that it needs.
Oh yeah.
Cut springs? No.
So, yeah, if I was 16, yeah, maybe. We needed to lower it on a bunch
No,
of
we weren't
short.
that bad. I still went coilovers and that was broke.
Yeah, no, we made it work. We made it work. We ate ramen for a while, but we bought mods. I truly have a different appreciation for like the E46. I never understood like the justification of price, people paying these high prices for them. Now that I have one, I can kind of get
It's just
it.
a bummer when you seen the prices for E46s, what they used to be.
Yep.
Like one of my friends, Marcus, he had a 2000 E46 M3, Corsa exhaust.
2001. They didn't make them in 2000.
Oh, my bad.
2001.
So maybe 2001. Corsa exhaust, Bilstein coilovers. He had a couple other mods, and he got it for like 10 grand. But this is like 2012 when they bought him. So like we still made the point like from the last podcast about an E30 M3, you could have gotten for like 10, 15 grand. Now they're 100 grand because people, they want to go back to
Better
what they used to have.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, like, not even that, but it's just like they want to have something that they could have had before, but now that they have the money, they work hard, they save, and they're like, you know what, I want to treat myself. You live once, like I want something that
So
works
that's
for me.
kind of why I'm building this with my dad. Like the first car that we truly built together, like he was like, hey, what wheels should we do? What should we do on this, that? Like that's how we did the E46 back then. It was a 328, just regular sedan. And we made it nice, And now that, listen, obviously we're in a completely different position now. I have a shop, the whole nine. It's easy for me to just go and build a car, So it's one of those things now, thankfully, that it's kind of like an open checkbook build for us, So it's not, there's no budget, there is no, we can't do this. Like we're going top of the line everything because we want
top of the line everything. No problem. We'll get this, and this. The list looks like that.
That's kind of what it is. Like we haven't driven the car since we got it because we truly want to have the epitome of the E46 experience for us. Cams, carbon airbox, full header, back exhaust, tune.
But you wouldn't have been able to do a build like this unless you were so deep into the car game. Like you would have had to experience all other things before going into a serious build.
Yeah.
I think once you see people who go into serious builds, they've been in the car game for an easy, 7 to 10 years. And then they go into the serious builds. I don't really see a lot of people that, because you have to have that thing in your heart where you know what, I really want to build this. I want it. Probably with you and your dad, right? It was no different with the 328.
There was no difference. Realistically speaking, that build was
It was a great bonding experience between both of you guys.
not just that, we literally spent time and dedicated energy to building that car. Remember so many memories of him teaching me what goes where, how to find things.
That's awesome.
Sorting tools, bolts, stuff like that.
Yep.
The little meticulous stuff.
That's such a
about
dope
building car.
experience.
It's those little things you'll appreciate and cherish for the rest of your life, bro.
Exactly.
That's why I said, I was like, I don't care what it costs. I don't care what it is. It's more sentimental to me that we're building this car together. Bro, you could drop a Lambo right now in front of me. I'd be like, I don't give a shit. I'm building this car with my pops. Don't care. That means more to me than any car you can put in front of me. You can put a Bugatti in front of me. I'd be like, yo, keep that shit. I want to build a C46. That's everything. And it's those little things, like you said. Yo, sorting tools after a job.
Exactly.
Knocking this out. Doing something simple. Bro, like I said, who the hell puts a rear windshield spoiler, bro? Come on, dog. This is not the 70s, But listen, you live and learn. Now that we both know what we know, building this car going forward, it's really coming out. It's like that dream build that you've always wanted, and also new tech. So we get the old school car with everything that's newly been released.
So I kind of want to divest and kind of, I guess, slow down the podcast into the last topic where would you ever want to see yourself buy a car, not necessarily not to mod, but the money that you would have allocated to modding a car, you could have maybe just bought that next tier car that could have done everything that you modded
that's
for.
a huge, great,
right?
point.
Man. Would you ever want
Perfect example.
And
I do not knock the idea, but I remember, again, going to car meets and stuff, I'd see a lot of, there were some kids that would buy a Lancer, and then modify it though, to be crazier.
To
be crazier. And they could buy
grand.
like an MR Evo.
Right.
With the money that they put into it.
Yeah.
And I've seen builds, a Lancer, a bone base Lancer. I think non-turbo. Kids throwing turbo in it, this and that, and converts it to all-wheel. Literally does everything to turn it into. I'm it's cool. I think it's sick. I don't get the. I feel like for the money that's worth, it's one thing to create a car who ran the idea the other day. Someone said they want to turn an M3 into a wagon. So buy a wagon, right? So in the States we don't have that, right? We don't have E91 wagons. So that's sick.
We have E91s, but a 328.
Right.
But
do they make an E91 M3 in
over
Europe or no?
Or no, in other countries.
No.
I don't think so.
It has to be converted. You have
It has to be converted though. So that is sick. You're creating a car that doesn't exist. But I feel like the idea, why do you want to spend the money? To try and re-engineer it yourself. It's I think you're just throwing money away. I don't know.
What do you think?
Realistically speaking, I think it's a little bit of what makes sense to you logically.
Yeah.
It's it's a level of I did it. It's a level of pride that comes with the ride as well.
Definitely.
Right.
How many guys can you say, oh, I have an E91 wagon that I built? That's bragging rights.
It's like a one-on-one almost.
Literally none.
That's your one-on-one especially.
Right.
And you can document that. You just feel a different sense of pride with the build. And that's the thing that I feel like got lost with the car community with technology. You can always buy a build. You can buy somebody else's build. Don't get me wrong. But to the satisfaction of being something unique
Built
to
versus
you,
bought.
Exactly. Something unique to you has been lost, which I feel like we need to kind of get back. The diversity of cars, don't get me wrong, technology is a great thing, but too much technology can kind of make things uniform.
Yeah.
Everybody
Becoming
wants
too numb to it.
Exactly.
I shouldn't be numb to a 2,000 horsepower car.
But my point,
You know?
But you look on
we
social
are.
media,
It's everywhere.
everybody and their mother's got 1,500
You
plus.
got this, you got drag radios on every
Talked
type
about
of car.
it before.
Like,
400 used to be.
They used to be
you know,
insane.
Yeah, it used to be
400 back.
So cool.
Yo, when I met you, I was making, I'm not even joking, 500 wheel with upgraded turbos in my 335. Yo, 4 years later, guys were doing that on stock turbos. 500 back then is like having 1,000 now. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah.
You know? But like to bounce off you remember my E90 335 with the single.
Yep.
Like, yo, I couldn't afford to buy an M3 then. They were 45, 50 grand back
Yeah,
then.
so it made
but what did I
sense,
have?
yeah.
I had M3 fenders. I had an M3 hood. And it's like, you know, I look back, I'm
piece
like,
together stuff, yeah.
I'm like, dude,
converted it to make it feel like you had it.
it was the closest thing that I could afford to having because that's all I could make out
But
of it.
don't you think that maybe like that is almost like burning money, unless you can recoup it?
Well, when you part out, you can recoup it because
Yeah.
listen, there's always the next guy that wants to kind of have like the same vision
same
that you have.
experience, sure.
You know? So I get it, but also it's like two completely different price brackets. So I understand the kids that are like, hey, I can't go
Yep.
spend 50 grand to buy the M3 now, but you know
Yep.
what? Over the course of the 3 years that I built the car,
You could do it.
yeah, I could spend that 15, 20 grand to convert it because it doesn't hurt as bad up front.
Right.
Exactly.
But like Chris said in the last podcast, buy once, cry once.
Buy
you
once,
know?
cry once, yeah.
So it's like, I understand it, but you know, it all comes down to the
And
financial
also,
logic behind it.
and like I'll guess put it to an end where, you know, like me personally, like I never really sought the need to buy an M3 because I didn't really see there to be,
Value.
not value, but I don't know. Like I guess I'm kind of cheap, but at the same time, I'm also stupid too because I dumped like $8,000 in mods on my car to make it not stock. But that somewhat like identifies me to like I can't drive a stock car. You know what I mean? So like it's part of.
But you don't
I guess,
find the
game.
need for that next tier.
No, I don't think so. But like when I drove your F80, like I wasn't impressed. I'm not saying that because like you know like it wasn't a true M car to me.
I'm still not impressed.
You know like and I actually felt more impressed with an E90 or an E92 M3 than you know an F80 where like the F80.
Because
don't
you
get
had
me
that
wrong,
real driving connection.
dude. Don't get me wrong. The F80 is so fast. Like it's really quick, but there's no soul.
Exactly.
Like the soul is lost. Like you take an E90, you take an E46. I've been in both of them that have been modified. The E46 is the coolest by far. The E46, like that thing, if it's dialed in, my boy Marcus, shout out Mark, he had Fortunato 500 coilovers. The thing was dialed in. Like, and for an entry level coilover, it was really good. Like I know you said you had BCs.
Yes.
Similar style coilover, but like this thing was dialed in. But like what you're losing from the car is the visceral experience, right?
Yeah.
Like I think that maybe to my point that I made before, like, oh, like why don't you just buy like, you know, I guess like a newer car or something that could hold their value? You're not getting that experience that we were talking about this whole podcast where, you know, the sound, the driving characteristics, like it's not nowhere near what it has now, right? So I don't know. I guess this is something that maybe we could like elaborate later, but
Well, I like the idea of buying a modified car, but at the same time, I like the idea of starting with a clean. Like when you're younger, it's cool the idea of getting yourself like a car that's done, like 500 horsepower, like.
yeah, but there's no fun.
But
like
right.
you buy the car and
When you
it's
get
like,
older, though,
You
I-
get it, and then you're like, all right, then what?
See, I like
yeah,
the
then
idea.
what? Like what are you gonna do? You know?
When you get older now, you find yourself in this canvas, and then in your head you're just like, wow, there's no rust underneath by the rockers. Wow, like the suspension looks clean. Wow, the bushings of this, like this is a clean canvas to start working on. You know, the way you feel about the E46 or any other car that we work on, you give yourself a canvas that you're proud of, a canvas that you're happy with, and then you start going into it. Then you feel good putting the coilovers on. You feel good, like some people have cars that aren't the best canvas. They might be rusty. They might be this. They might be that. And you're just like, I don't want to put coilovers on because
like even like BMWs, I feel like are really good to like start with a modification, but like look at Porsche, right?
Yep.
Like you go to, let's say, like the next. I always look at the next evolution of like a BMW or an Audi as Porsche,
right?
Right,
That's
like
your graduation right there.
yeah, and it's like. Do you really want to mess with the suspension of Porsche? Like that thing is so freaking dialed in from the factory. The weight distribution of the engine in the back. Like, if you put coilovers on it, you don't know like how you're gonna mess that geometry up. You know.
I'm at that point in my life where I'm taking that graduation step. And I've had this conversation with Sal.
Yeah.
I've done so much research recently, just looking for spec, build. I'm very meticulous with that.
Okay.
I need to be happy with spending that type of money.
Yeah.
If you're going to spend that type of money.
Right.
So you can't just get any example. You have to get example that makes.
Right. Like some people are like, I want a Hellcat, or I want a specific. Like it's got to be a
Or
dialed
even
in,
if let's say you pay a little bit more, it's worth it in the end because you know that you're gonna get something that you're gonna enjoy.
So,
plus
and
resale value.
I was going to tie this in. A lot of people, for me, I have sentimental values. A lot of people don't have sentimental values with their builds.
Yep.
I plan on keeping every build I make. Some dudes may think, oh, this is for like the next year or two. I'll sell it in the summer. Those are the guys where I'm like, I understand why you don't go the extra mile or you don't care for the build as much. Me, I plan on keeping every single, in my head at least.
I was the same way, but I could counter that after you finish.
So every build I ever did, I felt the need to go the extra step, the extra mile, do what made me feel as if
Happy.
exactly. So I didn't just cheap out on certain things because in my head, no, this gonna last me until I'm in my 60s, 50s, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So I have friends who legit will have a build. I know I'm not gonna keep it for long. It's just to have a car for now. Or have a car because I said I had the car. Like, I'm 22. I've had friends who've had 12 or 13 cars to this date.
Who are your age? Yeah.
Yes, like they've went through that many cars at my age. And mind you, we started driving at 16. So to go to 12 to 13 cars, I don't even know most adults who've been through that many cars.
No. But you see, like, I can kind of relate to that because everybody knows I don't really hang out to cars long. But the big thing behind me not being able to hang out to cars long was I couldn't afford to have multiple cars at a time. Like, yeah, all right, I get it. I was 17. I had an FRS and a 335 at the same time. But like, then it came to that point where I had to either dump one to build the other or keep both relatively stock, like just do the basic stuff. So I had to make that sacrifice. And every time I built something, I was like, yo, I want to take the next step. But I couldn't afford to go buy an M3 and have a 335 or whatever. Obviously our career paths changed as we got older. And I was able to do those things. Like now, people like, you never keep a car more than a year or 6 months or whatever it is. I'm always switching cars because I'm like, I always found the opportunity to be able to upgrade at not much of a cost difference because of the way I structured my builds, So for me, it worked. But now, thankfully, I'm at the point where I can keep everything that I have. Like, my goal right now is to own every generation M3. And I'm only missing 2. I have 1 more on the way, and that will leave me with 1 left. I need to get an E30 M3, So, but the cars that I'm building right now will be my forever builds. God willing, one day I have a son. Yo, my man's got 6, 7, 8 M3s out of the gate. If you're not happy with these to my future kid, I'm gonna beat your ass. But like I just, like you said, I have an emotional connection with all the cars that I built now because they're not 18, 19-year-old Sal that just built them, drove them for a year, had fun with them, dumped them. I want the next experience.
Exactly.
Now I can experience all of them at the same time, and each one has an emotional attachment with me in a different way, So
I get attached to cars too, extremely attached.
For me, I had the old soul of being emotionally attached. I saw the value in a car in a build.
Yep.
And that's what my dad taught me. Going back to my dad, that's what he taught me about it. He had the emotional connection of having his cars, keep them, maintaining them, the extra steps, not just being a driver.
Yep.
So that was the other part of it. So every build I take in the future is like, is this for me? Certain cars I know I wouldn't be happy with an AMG because that's just not me.
Okay. Yep. Yeah.
Even though I would love to have one, say I drove one, I know realistically if I can't justify it within myself to have one because it's just not me. Same thing for Audis. I'm just not an Audi guy, I'm not an AMG guy, I'm an M guy. So BMWs just resonate with my soul.
You know what resonates with me? I love Z06s. Get a Z06 with a fat can. That thing's, bro, that thing's just chopping. Chop. I think every car guy loves a Z06. You hear those things and it's just straight
You sound just
America.
like him, so I can't tell if
That
you're
thing's
either mocking
America.
him or you hang out too much. It's either or.
No. I've always been a Z06
That was
fanboy.
so. I thought that was so
America
for Sal.
builds
chop.
V8 America.
Yeah, but like, that's the thing. The car build quality is junk.
But I love the sound.
Yeah, but you're only buying a vet for one reason. You want to chop your life
That's
away.
why I wouldn't buy one though. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Yeah, as much as I love how they perform, the whole nine, it's so funny, man. I keep going back to, we had a red Z06 for a customer. That car, it hit a certain spot for me on my performance side. But then I drove that vet and then I jumped into my F80. And listen, again, I'm not the biggest fan of F80s, but I'm like, God damn, this is plush, German leather. I'm like, this is nice.
You don't realize how much of a difference until you step away from it and you go to another brand and you see oh shit, this is where it's missing, you know? You get jaded by the European build quality, and you're talking a 3 Series. You're not talking 7 Series. You go into a 7 Series, different type of leather, different type of double pane windows. There's a big difference. Yeah,
it's different.
But man, I don't know, the sound of a vet just screams ready to rock. I'm ready to rock, and let's fucking go.
America.
But on that note, I think that's a pretty solid way to wrap up.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We had a blast shooting this. Guys, comment, share, subscribe, share with all your friends. We will be back with another podcast next week. Guys, tune in, subscribe, share. We have actually a few more really interesting topics for next episode. Hopefully, I can get the boys back out here again next week. Guys, we'll see you guys on the next pod. Peace.